Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So in our last class, we finished up the large episodes, several episodes, dealing with the Shyamantaka jewel. And in our last class, we heard that there was a conspiracy. Somebody named Shatadhanva, who was an associate of Kamsa, decided to steal the Shyamantaka jewel. He killed Satyajit, Krishna's father-in-law, and this conspiracy to kill Satyajit also involved two of Krishna's devotees, Kritavarma and Akrura. And we heard the explanation. Why would someone like Akrura, who was a pure devotee of Krishna, why would he get involved in this murder conspiracy of Krishna's own father-in-law, Satyajit? And we learned that actually Akrura had been cursed by the residents of Vrindavan, in particular the gopis, because it was Akrura, if you remember, who was sent by Kamsa from Mathura to Vrindavan to go get Krishna and Balaram. And Kamsa revealed to Akrura his actual plan, that superficially he was inviting Krishna and Balaram and the cowherder men to come to Mathura in order to perform the sacred sacrifice in honor of the sacrificial bow. It was a great sacrificial bow. And so there was going to be a whole ceremony, and there was going to be a wrestling match. And Kamsa's plan was to kill Krishna and Balaram either by means of the giant elephant Kuvalayapida or else in the wrestling match. But as it turns out, Kamsa was killed by Krishna. So because Akrura was sent by Kamsa to take Krishna and Balaram out of Vrindavan, the gopis cursed Akrura. So that is why he became involved in the conspiracy. So after Shatadhanva killed Satyajit and took away the Shyamantaka jewel, he went to Akrura and he went to Kritavarma for shelter, but they said, no way. I can't go against Krishna, no. So Shatadhanva went on horseback to escape the vengeance of Krishna, because Satyabhama went to where Krishna and Balaram were, namely Hastinapur, and informed him of the death of her father. And when Krishna saw that Satyabhama had preserved the dead body of her father in a tank of oil so that Krishna could see, then Krishna became very angry and he chased after Shatadhanva, ultimately killing Shatadhanva. But when he killed Shatadhanva, he told Balaram, well, actually we have done this uselessly, because Krishna looked all over the dead body of Shatadhanva and he could not find the Shyamantaka jewel. So then it was revealed and it was understood, and Krishna knew, that actually Shatadhanva had given the jewel to Akrura before leaving. So it was Akrura who now had the jewel and who was engaging in sacrifices and spending lavishly and producing so much gold. So when Krishna returned to Dwaraka, he called Akrura to come because Akrura had left. And so he called for Akrura to return to Dwaraka, and Krishna spoke to Akrura in front of everyone, all the family members, and said, yes, I happen to know that you now have the Syamantaka jewel. Now my brother Balaram doesn't believe me, so just one time, show me the Syamantaka jewel. And of course, Akrura had the jewel, and so it was revealed that he had it, and Krishna then, that's basically the end of the Syamantaka pastime. So now we pick up, this next section is called The Pandavas Are Not Dead. Prabhupada picks up. As mentioned in the last chapter, there was a great rumor that the 5 Pandava brothers, along with their mother Kunti, had died according to the plan of the sons of Dhritarashtra in a fire accident in the house of Lak, in which they were invited to live by Duryodhana. But then the 5 brothers were detected at the marriage ceremony of Draupadi. So another rumor spread that the Pandavas and their mother Kunti were not dead. It was a rumor, but actually it was so. For the Pandavas returned to their capital city, Hastinapur, and the people saw them face to face. And when this news was carried to Krishna and Balaram, Krishna wanted to see them personally. And therefore, Krishna decided to go to Hastinapur. This time, Krishna visited Hastinapur in state as a royal prince, accompanied by his commander-in-chief, Yudhana, and by many other soldiers. Krishna had not actually been invited to visit the city, yet Krishna went to see the Pandavas out of affection for his great devotees. Because one of Krishna's names is Bhakta Vatsal, one who is very affectionate to his devotees. Krishna visited the Pandavas without giving any warning, and all of them got up from their respective seats as soon as they saw Krishna. Krishna is sometimes called Mukunda because as soon as one comes in constant touch with Krishna or sees Krishna in full Krishna consciousness, one immediately becomes freed from all material anxieties. And not only that, but one is immediately blessed with all spiritual bliss. Receiving Krishna, the Pandavas became enlivened, just as if awakened from an unconscious or loss of life. For when a man is lying unconscious, his senses and different parts of his body are inactive. But when he regains consciousness, the senses immediately become active. Similarly, the Pandavas received Krishna as if they had just regained consciousness, and so the Pandavas were very much enlivened. Lord Krishna embraced every one of the Pandavas, and by the touch of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Pandavas immediately became freed from all reactions of material contamination, and were therefore smiling in spiritual bliss. Just by seeing the face of Lord Krishna, everyone became transcendentally satisfied. Lord Krishna, although being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was playing the part of an ordinary human being. This is the meaning of the word Leela. And thus Krishna immediately touched the feet of Yudhishthir and Bhima because they happened to be Krishna's 2 older cousins. Arjuna embraced Krishna as a friend of the same age, whereas the 2 younger brothers, namely Nukula and Sahadev, touched the lotus feet of Krishna, showing Krishna respect. After an exchange of greetings, according to the social etiquette, befitting the position of the Pandavas and Lord Krishna, Krishna was then offered an exalted seat. When Krishna was comfortably seated, the newly married Draupadi, young and very beautiful in her natural feminine gracefulness, came before Lord Krishna to offer respectful greetings. The Yadavas who accompanied Krishna to Hastinapur were also very respectfully received. Specifically, Satyaki, which is another name for Yuyudhana, was also offered a nice seat. In this way, when everyone else was properly seated, the 5 Pandava brothers took their seats near Lord Krishna. After meeting with the 5 Pandava brothers, Lord Krishna personally went to visit Srimati Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas, who was also Krishna's paternal aunt. In offering respects to his aunt, Krishna also touched Kunti's feet. Kunti Devi's eyes became wet, and in great love, Kunti feelingly embraced Lord Krishna and also smelled Krishna's head. Kunti then inquired from Krishna about the well-being of her paternal family members, namely Kunti's brother Vasudeva, as well as Krishna's mother Devaki, and other members of the dynasty of the Yadus. Similarly, Krishna also inquired from his aunt Kunti about the welfare of the Pandava family. Although Kunti Devi was related to Krishna by family ties, Kunti knew immediately after meeting Krishna that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kunti remembered the past calamities of her own life and how, by the grace of Krishna, she and her sons, the Pandavas, had been saved time and time again. Kunti knew perfectly well that no one, without Krishna's grace, could have saved them from the fire accident designed by the sons of Dhritarashtra. In a choked-up voice, Kunti began to narrate before Krishna the history of her life. "Oh, my dear Krishna, I remember the day when you sent my brother Akrura to gather information about us. So this means that you always remember us automatically. When you sent Akrura, I could understand that there was no possibility of our being put into actual danger. All good fortune in our life began when you sent Akrura to us. Since then, I have been convinced that we are not without protection. We may be put into various types of dangerous conditions by our own family members, the Kurus, but I am confident that you remember us and always keep us safe and sound. Why, even ordinary devotees who simply think of you are always immune to all kinds of material danger. And what to speak of ourselves, who are personally remembered by you? And so, my dear Krishna, there is no question of bad luck. We are always in an auspicious position only because of your grace. But because you have bestowed a special favor upon us, people should not mistakenly think that you are partial to some and inattentive to others. No, you do not make such a distinction. No one is your favorite, and no one is your enemy. Being that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by nature, you are equal to everyone, and everyone can take advantage of your special protection. The fact is that although you are equal to everyone, still you are especially inclined to the devotees who always think of you. The devotees are related to you by ties of love, and as such, they cannot forget you even for a moment. You are present in everyone's heart. But because the devotees always remember you, you then respond accordingly. For example, although the mother has affection for all of her children, she takes special care of that child who is fully dependent. So I know certainly, my dear Krishna, that by seating in everyone's heart, you always create auspicious situations for your unalloyed devotees. Then King Yudhishthira also praised Krishna as the Supreme Personality and the universal friend of everyone. But because Krishna was taking special care of the Pandavas, King Yudhishthira then said, "Oh, my dear Krishna, we do not know what sort of pious activities we have executed in our past lives, which has made you so kind and gracious to us. We know very well that the great mystics who always engage in meditation in an attempt to capture you, they do not find it easy to obtain such grace, nor can they draw any personal attention from you. So I cannot understand why you are so kind to us. We are not yogis. On the contrary, we are attached to material contaminations. We are householders, dealing in politics, worldly affairs. So I do not know why you are so kind to us." Being requested by King Yudhishthira, Krishna agreed to stay in Hastinapur for 4 months during the rainy season. The 4 months of the rainy season are called Chaturmasya. During this period, the generally itinerant preachers and brahmanas stop at a certain place and live under rigid regulative principles. So although Lord Krishna is above all regulative principles, Krishna agreed to stay at Hastinapur only out of affection for the Pandavas. Taking this opportunity of Krishna's residence in Hastinapur, all the citizens of Hastinapur got the privilege of seeing Krishna every now and then, and the citizens of Hastinapur thus merged into transcendental bliss simply by seeing Lord Krishna every day, face to face. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This episode is entitled Krishna Accepts Kalindi. So this is going to be the fourth wife. Krishna has 8 principal queens. So we have heard already about Rukmini, we have heard about Jambavati, and we have heard about Satyabhama. So 3 of the 8 principal queens have already been discussed. Now we come to the 4th queen, Kalindi. One day, while Krishna was staying with the Pandavas, Krishna and Arjuna prepared themselves to go to the forest to hunt. Both of them sat down on Arjuna's chariot, which flew a flag with the picture of Hanuman. Arjuna's special chariot is always marked with this picture of Hanuman, and therefore Arjuna is also named Kapi Dvaja. Kapi means Hanuman, and Dvaja means flag. Thus, Arjuna prepared to go to the forest with his bow and infallible arrows. Arjuna dressed himself with suitable protective garments, for Arjuna was to practice for when the time would come when he would have to kill many enemies on the battlefield. Arjuna specifically entered that part of the forest where there were many tigers, deer, and various other animals. Krishna did not go with Arjuna to practice animal killing, for Krishna does not have to practice anything. Krishna is Atma Rama, self-sufficient. But Krishna did accompany Arjuna just to see how Arjuna was practicing, because in the future Arjuna would have to kill many enemies, especially on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. After entering the forest, Arjuna killed many tigers, boars, bison, gavias, which is a kind of wild animal, rhinoceros, deer, rabbits, porcupines, and similar other animals, which Arjuna pierced with his arrows. Some of the dead animals that were fit to be offered in sacrifices were carried by servants and then sent to King Yudhishthira. Other ferocious animals, such as tigers and rhinoceros, were killed only to stop them from causing disturbance to the sages who might be living in the forest practicing austerities and penances. Since there are many sages and saintly persons who are residents of the forest, it is the duty of the Kshatriya kings to keep even the forest in a peaceful condition for living. Arjuna soon felt tired and thirsty from hunting, and therefore he went to the bank of the Yamuna along with Krishna. When both the Krishnas, namely Krishna and Arjuna, for Arjuna is sometimes also called Krishna, as Draupadi is also called Krishna. So they reached the bank of the Yamuna, they washed their hands, feet, and mouths, and drank the clear water of the Yamuna. While resting and drinking water, they saw a beautiful girl of marriageable age walking alone on the bank of the Yamuna. So Krishna asked his friend Arjuna to go forward and ask the girl who she was. Krishna wanted Arjuna to see the deep devotion of this girl, and thus Krishna urged Arjuna to make the initial inquiries. So by the order of Krishna, Arjuna immediately approached the girl, who was very beautiful. She had an attractive body, nice glittering teeth, and a smiling face. Arjuna then spoke to the girl. "Oh, my dear young girl, you are so beautiful. May I ask who you are? We are surprised to see you loitering here alone. What is your purpose in coming here? We can only guess that you should be or must be searching after a suitable husband. So if you don't mind, you can disclose your purpose and I shall try to satisfy you. The beautiful girl was the river Yamuna personified. She then replied to Arjuna, "My dear sir, I am the daughter of the sun god, and I am now performing penance and austerity only to have Lord Vishnu as my husband. For I think Vishnu is the supreme person and most suitable to become my husband. I thus disclose my desire only because you wanted to know about it. My dear sir, I know who you are. You are the great hero Arjuna. So I may further inform you that I shall not accept anyone as my husband other than Lord Vishnu, because Vishnu is the only protector of all living entities. Therefore, one of his names is Janardana, and Vishnu is the bestower of liberation for all conditioned souls. Therefore, another one of his names is Mukunda. So I shall be thankful unto you, my dear Arjuna, if you would pray to Lord Vishnu to be pleased with me." The beautiful girl correctly understood that Lord Vishnu, being the source of all benedictions, is the ultimate supreme husband and can thus fulfill all the desires of his wife. The beautiful girl knew it well that Arjuna himself was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and that if Arjuna would pray on her behalf, Krishna would never deny his request. Because to approach Krishna directly may sometimes be futile, but to approach Krishna through his devotee is sure to be successful. The beautiful girl further told Arjuna, "My name is Kalindi, and I live in the waters of the Yamuna. My father was kind enough to construct a special house for me within the waters of the Yamuna, and I have vowed to remain in this water as long as I cannot find Lord Krishna." Arjuna duly carried the message of the girl Kalindi to Krishna. Although Krishna, as the super soul of everyone's heart, already knew everything. So without further discussion, Krishna immediately accepted Kalindi and asked her to sit down on the chariot. And then all of them approached King Yudhisthira. So I think we have time for one more episode. Let's do this one. This episode is called "The Maya Demon Saved by Arjuna." So after Krishna accepting Kalindi, Krishna was asked by King Yudhisthira to help in constructing a suitable house, which is to be planned by the great architect Vishvakarma, the celestial engineer in the heavenly kingdom. We heard about Vishvakarma previously with the construction of Krishna's city, Dwaraka. Krishna immediately called for Vishvakarma and made him construct a wonderful city according to the desire of King Yudhisthira. And when the city was constructed, Maharaj Yudhishthira requested Krishna to live with the Pandavas just a few days more, just to give them the pleasure of Krishna's wonderful association. Lord Krishna accepted the request of Maharaj Yudhishthira and remained there for many days more. In the meantime, Krishna engaged in another one of his pastimes by offering the Pandava forest, which actually belonged to King Indra. Krishna wanted to give this forest to Agni Deva, the fire god. The Pandava forest contained many varieties of drugs, and Agni Dev required to eat them for rejuvenation. However, Agni did not touch the Pandava forest directly, but instead requested Krishna to help him. Agni knew that Krishna was very much pleased with him because Agni had formerly given Krishna the Sudarshana Chakra. So, in order to satisfy Agni, Krishna again became the chariot driver of Arjuna, and both of them went to the Pandava forest. After Agni had eaten up the whole Pandava forest, Agni became very much pleased. At this time, Agni offered Arjuna a specific bow known as Gandiva. He also offered Arjuna 4 white horses, 1 chariot, an invincible quiver with 2 specific arrows, considered to be talismans, which had so much power that no warrior could counteract them. Now, when the Pandava forest was being devoured by the fire god Agni Dev, there was a demon of the name Maya Danava who was saved by Arjuna from the devastating fire. So for this reason, that former demon became a great friend of Arjuna. And in order to please Arjuna, Maya Danava constructed a nice assembly house within the city which had been constructed by Vishvakarma. This assembly house had some corners so puzzling that later on, when Duryodhana would come to visit this house, Duryodhana was misdirected, accepting water as land and land as water. Duryodhana was thus insulted by the opulence of the Pandavas, and then became even more the determined enemy of the Pandavas. After a few days, Krishna took permission from King Yudhishthira to return to Dwaraka. When Krishna got the king's permission, Krishna returned to his country accompanied by Satyaki, the leader of the Yadus who were living in Hastinapur with Krishna. Kalindi also returned with Krishna to Dwaraka. And after returning, Krishna consulted many learned astrologers to find the suitable moment at which he should marry Kalindi. And then Krishna married Kalindi with great pomp. This marriage ceremony gave much pleasure to all the relatives of Krishna, and everyone enjoyed the great occasion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.